Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Let's give a few minutes more for people to log in. Now, for those who come online early today, thank you. I thank you for participating today. Just to warm up everybody, what did you guys have for dinner tonight? If you know what you had for dinner tonight or you had dinner tonight, please put in the chat box and let us know what did you eat for dinner tonight. Korean barbecue. How do you do Korean barbecue? Like your barbecue at home? Well, not bad. Shepherd's pie. McD, bitter gourd. Wow. Okay, cool. What else? What do you guys have for dinner tonight? Bak kut teh, steamboat. Wow, so nice your food. Steamed crab seafood. Wow, Charles. Not bad, huh? Potato curry, puri, dim sum, mixed rice. Wow. Home cooked Thai cuisine. Wow, awesome. One of the things about Maggie, right? The natural stuff, leftovers. Right. One of the good things about COVID is or this lockdown is that all of us either improve our cooking skills or somebody in our family improve cooking skills. Singapore fried bee hoon, salmon. Wow, talk so much until you want to reward yourself. All right. Can you reward me also, Charles? Right, there you go. Maggie mee, awesome. Well, as you all have known today, if you all have watched the news or if you all have followed through what's happening in social media, we are now entering into a the second round of another 2 weeks of lockdown, a full lockdown. Now, I think when we started this lockdown, we did have this preparation that this lockdown will look at a 4 to 6 weeks minimum lockdown period. And don't be surprised we get another 2 weeks extension based on what's happening right now. I will share a little bit more of the insights on our Power Monday sessions. But today, and I think it's very timely that we have this conversation today. Today, we have a guest. We are so pleased and so proud to invite our guest here today. I'm just going to quickly introduce her. She's none other than Cheng. She is the current president-elect of MIEA. She's going to take office, I think, July, if I'm not mistaken, July or August, right? Now, she has been in real estate for the longest period of time. She's actually very young, but she just started young, all right? She's been in this real estate for the longest period of time. She was Secretary General before for MIEA. She's currently the General Manager of SK Brothers Realty, which is a very long established real estate company that has set standards and bars in the industry as well. She's among some of her accolades that she's also a certified residential specialist by NAR, National Association of Realtors in the US. And she has been a very good person that is serving the industry. I think she was also the former Bovia board representative in the last Bovia group. So welcome, Cheng. Thank you really for joining us, taking the time off with your family and be with us here tonight. And we are here and we are so honored. Maybe you can quickly share a little bit about yourself in case I said the wrong things or I mentioned the wrong things. Maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself a little bit just to let the audience know who you are. And I'm sure all of us know who you are, but just in case.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you very much to KW and also for Redfield for inviting me over. It's a very good initiative you guys have done for these training sessions that have been going on and on, I think almost every day. To keep you guys up to date and also motivated and also charge you guys up with some skills to brave through this period. Okay, for me, yes, I think what Jonathan has mentioned is all accurate figures. I actually came to real estate in 1999. Yeah, I started at SK Brothers. Of course, I think many of you will know that SK Brothers was founded by my dad, actually, Charlie Chan. I'm not sure, maybe all the older persons here may know. And so I joined him in 1999, and only in the year 2002, around about there, that I pursued the registration to become a registered estate agent. So before that, I was a negotiator. So come to think of it, 2002, and this is 2021, it's coming to, yeah, it's almost, next year will be 20 years. That's crazy, Yeah, right. So very long. And in the last 2 years, in the year 2019 until 2021 February, I was also MIEA's board rep at the Board of Valuers, Appraiser, Estate Agent, and Property Managers Malaysia. And I think that was a very interesting experience for me to be on the regulatory side, as well as day-to-day being on the business side. So it's a bit of a different perspective, actually, the way they look at the industry versus how we as the practitioners are practicing. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Now, so you're almost 20 years in the business coming next year. You probably started at the age of 12. We all know your age right now. So, but tell us, have you ever experienced the kind of situation we are in right now in your entire career? Have you remembered the last time we are in such crisis that we can't go out and show how? Have you ever seen that before in your entire career?
Well, in 20 years, since 2002 officially, but 1999, since I started real estate, no, we have never come into a situation where we cannot come out at all. I mean, technically, I've been through, wait, let's see how many recessions. Okay, I missed the 97 one. So just two. That means coming into two slowdowns before this current pandemic that we have. None of them is like that.
Right.
But I think every of these situations of changes, it all makes us at first it shakes us, and then we're all like headless chicken, or wondering what to do. And then later on, as time goes by, we upskill, we learn, and then we try to adapt and move on. I think that is the most important. If not, I don't think how I can be in this industry for 20 over years. It's not easy. Yeah.
Okay, then I have another personal question to ask you before we go into the detailed stuff. Like,
Okay.
you choose to serve in the MIEA? What makes you want to serve? And now, after so many years, and now the coming president-elect and taking office soon in July, August, what made you want to serve in MIEA?
Okay, I think there comes a point in time when, after you have done personal sales, and then you have your team sales and all that, then you find that you want I think every human being goes through this process that they want to contribute beyond themselves. They want to give back to society. Maybe some people want to give back to the industry. Some people want to, many ways they demonstrate this So one of the ways that somehow I felt was in this volunteering for MIEA. Well, it wasn't automatic. I started MIEA volunteer work actually I think about 12 years ago, under President Soma at that time. So I served for one term, 2 years. Then after that, I decided maybe not, because possibly due to my age at that time, I thought no lah. I think I was a bit too young to get involved in association work for the time at the point in time, and also I do not know enough to be able to contribute more. So then, sometime around 4 years ago, Eric Lim of Hatamas, he was the president of MIEA then. He suggested that I represent MIEA on the board's EAPC committee. So I thought, okay, I don't know what this committee does, but okay let's just give it a shot. So after that, then he said, why not you serve at MIEA? And that's how the story progresses And I think the timing is more right for me now at this point in time, to be able to do more for the institute than I did 12, 15 years ago
Thank you for serving, and thank you for putting that effort to do it. Now, as we are in this crisis, or in this situation where we are in a full lockdown, with potentially no sight of when things are going to change, right? Because nobody can tell you now that it's going to be another 2 more weeks and we are okay. I mean, there's no sight of that. And that's the honest observation that I'm seeing right now. I don't know whether you see the same way I'm seeing it as well. How then can we then look at doing our business in this realm, in terms of how do we start talking to our clients? How do we plan our life as a real estate agent right now? What would you suggest?
Okay, I think the very first thing is what MIEA has also done. We have come up with the MIEA Hope Program 3.0. Okay, this Hope Program is the theme is actually how to market properties from home. So we invite people who are very good at, some of them are very good at Facebook ads. Some are really good at doing short video clips. Some are really good at wordings, where when you type certain wordings in your WhatsApp, that when the customer is scrolling, they will stop and read your message and say, "Oh, why so interesting?" So that we are spending time at MIEA to get our members to be more aware of the resources that's actually available and what they can do. I mean, don't focus on what you can't do. I mean, obviously we can't we can't go and hand over properties, or we can't go and take photos of properties and and conduct viewings and things like that. But why not focus on the things we can do? Things like Facebook ads, things like how we're going to write a conversation to on WhatsApp, how to do the how to interest our customers on the products that we have, or how to even list the property during this time. And and I tell you, I over the last few days, I myself have learned a lot. Sometimes I feel that maybe I'm considered like a half dinosaur and half young at the same time. Caught in like in a way caught intergeneration, a bit of old and trying to keep up with the trend. So I personally learned, even yesterday, as of yesterday, I also tried out my hand on this boosted app, right, that does videos for property and all that. I also did a couple of videos, and then I also posted used Canva and came up with some nice flyers and things like that, and put it to real use. Sometimes we learn and learn and learn, and all it does is it goes in, and we never translate that thought into action. And I think that is what lacks, what most of us lack. We know what to do, actually. Sometimes it's just the doing it that we feel it's difficult. Yeah.
So make peace with the situation that you can't go out. Make peace that whatever you used to do before lockdown is not possible, and figure out what you can do and not bother with what you cannot do. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go a bit deeper into some technical stuff. And today our focus is to really, there are a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about our agents in our company, and asking questions like, how do we then proceed with stuff that is half hanging? And let's talk about a little bit about tenancy agreement, for example. So now I signed a booking last month. Let's just say I signed a booking just before the lockdown came in, and supposed to move in 15th of June or 25th of June, but now I can't do that right now, right? But my terms have been set in my LO, right? What can we do? How can we work on this with the tenant and the landlord? Right? What would you suggest for that kind of situation?
Yeah, I think one thing good, we are basically dealing with human beings, and everyone is in, most of them is in Malaysia. They understand the situation that we are all in. So landlords are aware that tenants cannot move in. Tenants are aware that although they really want to move in, they can't because of the restriction. So what I would recommend is that it's to engage into a discussion with both the landlord and the tenant, and to figure out what to do in such circumstances. Because if let's say the tenant is in desperate need to move, I mean, maybe he has nowhere to live, or I'm not too sure. But if that's the situation, then is he within the 10-kilometer radius that we still can move along? If it's not items, he can move himself there. I think that's still a possibility. Or the other option is that maybe if none of them are in great hurry, then renegotiate the terms. Yeah, I understand that maybe tenancy agreements have been executed and all that, but that doesn't mean there cannot be an addendum. Doesn't mean there cannot be a negotiation of a revised term, since all parties are mutually agreeable to it. Of course, some landlords can be tough and say that, no, I don't care. It starts on 15th of June, and 15th of June it is. So we just have to be that mid-between point, the peacemaker between the two parties, to make sure that the landlord understands that, we are not in it for the short-term gain, that 15 days of your rental versus 1 year of your tenant being unhappy with you. I don't think it's worth it right at the start of the tenancy, and the tenant's relationship and the landlord is very important for continuity, and also the tenant will look after your property, and there's so much of other goodwill that will be shared if everybody comes to, a more peaceful understanding. Yeah.
If we were to renegotiate the tenancy agreements, for example, the tenure, the terms, the time of start, right? What are some of the clauses that you would recommend for us to work on an addendum right now? What sort of proposed addendum clauses that you would suggest?
Actually, because of the COVID Act, that also puts a little bit of in a way, it protects the tenant from the actions of the landlord, but that doesn't mean you don't need to pay, but there is some amount of protection in that sense. So if let's say you are a tenant in a property, and for whatever reason, due to the COVID, you were very affected and you couldn't pay the rent, the landlord actually can't exactly take legal action against you for the period that has been specified in the COVID Act and kick you out. So there is some amount of protection in there, but not many of us are very aware of the exact terms in the COVID Act. All we know is that everyone is delaying action against each other when it comes to defaults. So in terms of clauses, because you see sometimes like we do not know when. Okay, like you say, okay, 15 we're supposed to move in, but now 15 become 28 already, right? The COVID, and who knows another 2 weeks from then. So it could be I know it's a very complicated situation, but it's a date that the full lockdown has been lifted because then it's fair. That means the tenant is not purposely delaying. He really wants to move in, only that he is restricted And in fact, for the matter, even the building, okay, let's say it's a strata property, right? Even the building management, the MC may also impose rules that you can't move in or move out. So it's not just the landlord and tenant want to move in and move out. There's external parties that may stop you as well. So, many angles.
Right. So basically negotiate terms like the commencement starts 7 days after the lifting of the full lockdown, for example. That's a good suggestion. Or 7 days or 14 days after full lockdown with the approval of the management, right?
Yes. And also you can extend the tenancy. Okay, let's say you start on 15, right? You're supposed to end on 14 next year. But since you started like 7th of July, so maybe you can end on 6th of July next year. Nobody really loses in that sense.
Right. So if both parties signs off the addendum on the tenancy agreement that was executed and stamped, it should be valid in the court of law as a valid contract, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
I believe so.
Right. And if you are an agent and you know that some of these things are happening right now, or even I know that my clients might just moved in 3 months ago and now they're having challenges paying rental, would you take the initiative to start the ball rolling in negotiating or helping them to meet, or what would you do if you know of this?
Okay, if I know that my tenant is affected by the COVID, let's say they are in the maybe the aviation industry, or maybe they're in F&B, they're restaurant operators and they couldn't operate in full capacity. I know that although a lot of people say that, there's still Grab, there's Food Panda and all that, but seriously, it cannot replace the volume of business based on dine-ins. Really cannot. That's why so many restaurants also saying their, last goodbyes, and we are also very saddened by this, these old timers having to close their shops and all that. So it's a very real thing. So if you know that your tenants are involved in such, I believe the first person they would have contacted is you already actually. But okay, let's say they did not contact you, then it'll be a good point to just message them and see how they're doing, how they're coping during this time. And if they do require any, assistance or anything, because maybe some people are able. So we don't want to assume that everybody is in need. Yeah. So if they say that, I think we are, but business affected by 50% and all that, and then maybe out of goodwill, you can also speak to the landlord and say that, hey, you're aware that your tenant is involved in this. Hey, how about you come up with some goodwill and see whether just to help him through these 3 months or 2 months or 1 month of this full lockdown. And I think it will go a long way because relationship building between landlord and tenant goes a long way. I mean,
Right.
to have a good tenant, I tell you, it's like heaven on earth, seriously. I have a tenant, I'm so happy. This tenant will bring in cash, every month. They never gives me any trouble, settle even the management office bills for me. Wow, fantastic. I don't even need a tenancy administration, man. This tenant does everything for me. Hey, that kind of tenant, hey, if he asks me for reduction, I straight give.
Right.
Stay there for how many years it's worth it.
So there's a cost or vacancy of the property as well, right? There's a cost,
Yes.
the property is vacant, and the cost of finding another good tenant, they are all cost, time, effort.
Right.
And also, I think it's a great opportunity for agents to go and touch base with the landlord and the tenant again. This is the best opportunity to offer yourself to come from contribution to serve the public this way.
Yeah.
Right.
But don't volunteer to go and, don't purposely go and tell the tenant, okay, I go and negotiate for you with the landlord. No, don't, because the landlord is your client. yeah, he is the one who had paid you your fees. So, I mean, his best interest is still your best interest. So we have to work it out fairly, yeah, not forcefully. I remember last year when there was this LHDN gave a rebate of, I mean, the tax for reducing business SME loans, I mean, not loans, rentals by 30%, then they will, So there were some tenants who were quite nasty. They called me and they called my agents and said that why is the landlord not giving us 30% discount on the rent and all that? Aren't they supposed to? They were like, no, it's not mandated that you must get a 30% rebate of your rental. It was just that the income tax was giving an incentive. It's up to the owner whether he wanted to opt for that or not. So sometimes people can take things very extremely. Yeah.
And because that time, I think there was a moratorium, blanket moratorium for everyone. And we don't have a blanket moratorium right now.
Yes.
Therefore, the landlord still have to pay the installments according to what it is due to the bank. And that's where they have an issue of reducing the rents right now, because then there's a shortfall, right?
Yeah.
Right, cool. Based on, let's just talk a little bit about sales and purchase right now. I signed a booking form. Now, I can't even get my loan approved, or I have issues with the bank delaying the loans and all that. How then can we go back into the LO or to the conversation with the buyer and seller to relook at all these things? What are your suggestions if you are all trapped in this situation right now?
Okay, that means already accepted the letter of offer, but pending the signing of the sale and purchase agreement. This phase is still a very doable phase in terms of renegotiation, because first thing is, if the seller is already got a buyer, chances of him want to release the buyer and then go and go back to the process of finding another buyer is also a hassle. So and a buyer, buyer, of course, they have options, but maybe they already spent their effort and already identified this as their home. So the chances of them wanting to change their mind also is not there because they already know the situation we're in. So the best thing to do is to arrange for an extended execution of the sale and purchase agreement in light of the delays that the banks may be faced with due to the lockdown. But fortunately, actually, the banks are still quite efficient because they are still working at 60% workforce, if I'm not mistaken. My sister is one of them approving loans. She tells me, you guys will be surprised. She tells me the amount of loan application is a lot. Sometimes I ask her, hey, you are bluffing me or not? Is it true or not? Then she said, it's true. I work until I can't, because she's the one checking every document. You guys, submit all the what income document. She's the one checking every document, make sure that it's not falsified, this and that. She's the one checking all that. And she told me there's so many loan applications until she and the colleague all have to work late every night. Take home the files. They can't take back, but they're in the system. They have to check it and look on the screen some more. You see, sometimes if they cannot go to the office. So yes, there is a possibility of renegotiation of an extended signing of the sale and purchase agreement. Terms all remains the same, as I don't believe either party wants to make any sudden, what do you call it, especially the seller. I doubt the seller wants to terminate just because the buyer is delayed due to no fault of his. I think the genuine, sincere heart is there. Every good effort will be made to ensure that the sale will go through after things go, back to normal.
So, but what if I have a situation where my seller is a very picky seller, right? He's a very challenging seller. I sold cheap. Now that I have delayed, I have a delay in time in terms of proceeding and completing the transaction. Definitely, there's a time delay, right? PTG is not open, all that is not open, right? So the land office are not open for registration. Some of them are closed. But then I want this guy to sign off right now fast, right? So what are some of the ways we can mitigate this? What are some of the potential negotiations that we can go in and help the landlord, the buyer and the seller to come to a meeting point?
Okay, because you see, the delay may not be the buyer all for himself, it can be the seller side delay as well. because the PTG and all that, like you mentioned, land title transfer and all that, it's actually the seller's obligation. So the buyer side is on the loan, yes, agreed. So the seller side delay could be the title. So it's not the buyer's fault, So it's actually both sides will have delays coming up lah. But anyway, the sale and purchase agreement still says 3+1, and the 3 months is sufficient for this process to happen. It's only when does the 3 months start? Does it start on the 15th of June, or is it going to start on the 7th of July, or things like that? So it's a matter of that couple of that 2 weeks lah. And I tell you, 2 weeks at the blink of an eye is over lah. So. Yeah, so normally if we've talked to the buyers and sellers both, it'll pass really, really fast, believe me.
Would you advise like certain terms to be added on the LO right now? For example, the 21 days of signing agreement starts after the lockdown has been lifted up. Would you agree? Would you recommend that kind of clauses to give some safety net to all parties?
If they are going to put in the offer today, then that would be probably the right thing to do. But if they already put in the offer earlier, maybe what could have done is that you should have tied the signing to the date you got your loan offer.
Right.
That may be better. So then it's fair for both sides. That means it's fair for the landlord, the seller, that they know that, okay, the moment you get your loan, then the time starts from there is fine, because that is sure deal already. And for but of course, if now, then you would better off go with when the full lockdown will be lifted.
Correct.
Maybe some people may put in an offer subject to inspection also.
Correct.
Be able to see the property. I say, okay, I offered 1 million, but subject to me seeing the property the moment it's completed. The moment I am able to visit, and things like that. Yeah.
Right. So it's time to think of clauses like that, right? I had a colleague a few days ago, and the client was very, they were willing to put in an offer already, but the buyer was very, a bit concerned about the whole situation and asked for 60 days to get a loan approved, right? They asked for 60 days to get a loan approved and were very concerned. How do you help communicate and assure buyers about those concerns? What would you do as an agent?
Okay, I think 60 days may be a bit long to secure a loan, because normally if your loan documentations are all in order, even with the full lockdown, maximum also 1 month you get it out already. It's a bit, 60 days sounds a bit too long unless you were the one dragging your feet and not having your full paperwork in order. So that could be the fault of the buyer as well. So if I'm the seller, if I'm the agent, I wouldn't recommend 60 days. I would say that within 30 days to have the loan secured, the loan letter of offer secured, and thereafter the signing to take place because cannot be a moving goalpost, or pity the seller. If 60 days or 90 days later only I decide to apply for the loan, but I lock your property in, I don't think that is a fair deal either.
Right.
We have to balance the buyer and seller.
Right. Because I think a lot of issues with buyers right now, like they are a bit concerned and they are very, a bit feeling the stress of getting the loans. And there's a lot of rumors, and I think it's just rumors that loans are difficult and all that. But I think if your financial standing is good, banks will be happy to loan you the money. I think that is very important. And that's where the basis of this establishment is. What else do you see potentially could happen in an SPA or in the negotiation of an SPA in this season? What other things that you think potentially could happen during this time?
Okay, maybe if already executed the sale and purchase agreement, and because of the government authority side being the most work from home compared to the private sector, then there could be a possible delay in the transfer of title. But because the law, but I think lawyers have recently been added as essential services, so I think it shouldn't be affected. Come to think of it.
Right. Yeah. No, but sometimes the land office may only do a certain process number of processes depending on which land office you are in, right?
Correct.
Where
That's
your,
the only possible delay lah. Yeah, I
right.
won't get it. Yeah, definitely not on the lawyer side, because the lawyers have been they can go out. I mean, they can operate, so that's okay.
So
Actually,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
actually, I'm more concerned about the situation where before the sale and purchase agreement, the period of when people go for inspection, the time, I'm more concerned of this period actually. That means after the full lockdown has been lifted, let's say, your tenants may still be a big stumbling block to you when you want to conduct viewings.
Right.
Yeah, let's say you want to bring a family over to have a look at the house, at the property. Yeah, then the tenant may say, oh, how they don't have COVID? Have they done a COVID test? I don't want to have people in my viewing the property when I'm there. And I feel that this may be the biggest challenge we'll face after this.
Right.
Not much even though viewings are allowed, but the tenant may be your biggest stumbling block.
Right. How would you advise them? What would you advise in order to make this work?
Yeah, this one is very complicated. The best thing is that they don't meet each other. That means if let's say the tenant is around, because we all know that COVID is spread mainly by what do you call it, the droplets, the droplets. So mask helps a little bit, and then of course we make sure that they don't touch anything. You just walk through the property, look at it, don't talk, and then just walk out, and then that way. So don't be around in the property when you're conducting viewings. That means the tenant don't be there together with your buyer at the same time. Yeah, but of course, having said that, the tenant, if he has a right to, in a way, quiet enjoyment of his property and all that, at the same time, the owner also have the right to demand entry into the property. But because of the COVID, this one, I tell you, is a big question mark, even to me.
Right.
Even sometimes I'm faced with this situation as well. I'm also wondering how, if I brought a potential buyer and mana tahu ayo touch wood lah, that potential buyer had COVID and he visited my tenants, and then wow, how to settle this? It's a big unless, so we need to be very careful when we want to insist on the viewings and all that. We have to be careful. Of course, we'll do the necessary temperature check and all these things, make sure they are fully masked, wear glove and all that. But still, the risk is there. And make sure that we don't come into a situation where the tenant later blames us, or indirectly also blame the landlord,
right,
the property for this
thing.
Yeah.
And I foresee this is going to be a major challenge, especially for the residential market, yes, where because of the current situation, right? Like nobody knows, everybody's walking around with the virus without knowing that they have the virus, right? And it's not their fault, right? But I think we have to take extra precaution in how we help them, and also maybe limit the number of people in the house, right? Limit the time, limit the number of people, and making sure that they are not touching anything in the house and just walking through quickly and then do as much as they can, but in a short period of time, then move away from the house. I think that's the best that we can do.
The other alternative is if there is this, I think there's this fogging machine that is quite popular these days. I think most offices have it. Some of them are quite portable as well. So if your tenant is afraid that they may leave behind some droplets or whatever, then you offer to fog their house after the viewing, and then I think that should provide them with additional and to reduce their resistance to letting you bring a buyer in. I think that's very important.
Yeah. Right, portable fogging machines. I mean, it's kind of like the sanitizer like that, right?
Yeah. Okay, seriously, nobody knows how effective it is, but the visual impact and the fact that you're doing it, people feel good. Yeah.
Right. And do as much as we can to make people feel comfortable and make people feel safe. And then also come from a point that we have done all our precautions, and we really can't do any much more than that already, but we have to do our best, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, don't be careless about it, because it's very important. And don't also force. That means if the tenant don't want any viewings or that, force, no, under the tenancy agreement, the clause says that the landlord is authorized to, no dictation of terms like that, but more of personal human relationship. how you can mitigate the risk. And I think most of the time it'll be okay.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of times we sometimes come from the angle of, oh, this is my right, I want it to be like that. So I think that is not the best approach. The best approach is, let's have a conversation like a human being, and we have this issue, we need your help, you need our help. Let's find a solution rather than exercising my right kind of conversation.
Right.
I don't think would you agree that's not the right approach?
Definitely not.
Right, right. And I think that's where the human connection and human conversations have to happen. And that's where the agents have to become that bridge, right? To connect both parties. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's a question on the chat box here. Buyers and sellers lawyers insist that they can't proceed with work during this lockdown. Although SPA has been signed by both parties, do I have to wait until the lawyer's office open again before the SPA can be stamped?
Actually, the lawyers are essential services. They are authorized to operate. If I'm not mistaken, I have that somewhere in my records that they they were opened up just like property managers as well. PMC companies are authorized to operate as well. So I don't think they should be giving you this reason. And even government officers, say what you like, they are still open, but only at 20% of staff force at the places. So they're not completely closed. So this could be an excuse.
Right. Right. We should look further into Distress Act. I think right now the act that we can use is the COVID Act, because the COVID Act has been passed and it says there are things that is protecting both parties in the contract, meaning how can you enforce this contract, what can you delay in the enforcement of the contract, and all these are inside the COVID Act. So I think that's something that we all can refer and maybe talk about once we are clear about that. But again, that's something new, and I don't think people are using that yet right now. Yeah. Because I think everybody have the decency to understand what's going on. Yeah. Right? I think everybody knows it's not really our fault that we are shutting down, right? It's the government shutting down, not us, right? Anything else to look for when we are doing, like moving forward in this season right now, besides safety, besides comfort to the tenant, the landlord, the buyers, sellers, what else do you think we can look out? What else should we be thinking about how we should conduct our business?
Okay, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about this 360 and this VR to promote less inspection, physical inspection, and replaced by this virtual reality kind of thing. So I think that should be, a priority, or at least a video of the properties. So what can you do if you can't even access the property, right? So what some of the agents do is that they get the tenant or the owner or whoever is staying at the property to help them out, to take photos for them, videos and all that. He said, hey, so I won't disturb you so often, so you help me a little bit, I need like that, send some samples and make them do some work, for their own comfort and for yours. So we could, in a way, they can become our indirect sales PA to go and do some basic work for us, so that we may not need to visit multiple times. So I think that's one thing that they can do. And I don't know what else. I mean, in what aspect, Jonathan? What aspect?
I think one of the key issues we have in the last MCO lockdown, where was stratified properties, right? A lot of MCs and management corporation, or even the property manager, was reluctant to allow viewings, right? They just refuse. Even after the full lockdown is out, when we are in sort of CMCO mode, a lot of stratified managers refuse to allow viewing to happen. What can we do? What do you think we can do? Because I think to a certain extent, sometimes they get a bit too paranoid, right? They don't allow a lot of things, but yet they're allowing the Grab guy who has probably a higher chance of infecting everyone because they see more people than the real estate agent, right? Because I've been and look at many places as a Grab driver or a Grab delivery person. What can we do to start a conversation with the MC to help our agents to go back into business and help them to see that agents also need to go and do this business to help the owners, right?
Yeah. Okay. In terms of this, right? Actually, the restriction for for visitors entering a property and all that, I remember last year there was a big controversial issue because I think the KPKT themselves made some statement and subsequently was retracted and clarified, and they no longer impose any restriction on visitors to stratified properties. So in terms of whether the property manager can restrict you from coming in or not, is whether the MC and the JMB they call an EGM or an AGM, and then they pass this rule that no one can visit. Otherwise, the property managers, they technically do not have the right to stop the owner from having visitors into their property when it's not a FMCO lah. They actually don't. So, in order to smoothen the situation, work with the owners. The owners they can help you in many ways. Yeah. And I think they are very helpful as well, because owners just want their property sold or rented out as fast as possible.
Right. The challenge is sometimes we have MCs who may not understand the urgency of viewing. They don't understand that I need to. No, I was just talking to my MC members a few months ago. I said, look, you don't allow people to do the viewing. Like, if they can afford to pay the installment and all that, that's fine. But there are some people who need to sell the property, right? And when you have more vacant properties there, value goes down, right? Because supply comes up, right? Value goes down. So I think the agent should be educating the MCs. They should go out there and be very, very intentional of how to show value, not just argue, but tell them the reality of stuff. Sign a petition with all the owners, right? And go to the MC and say, hey, look, we need this right now, right? Then some people are jumping into the owner's car, hiding the boot, and then slipping in, and then So, but I think it's all about agents going out there and intelligently having a case and bringing the case to the MC and say, look, I need to talk to you about this. Can we do this, right? So I think that's where agents should be more proactive in this area. I suspect it may be something like that also to some stratified buildings, right? Right. Do you think that's a good approach?
Yeah, definitely that's a good approach. And what I can do also on the MIEA side, we can also engage with MIPFM, which is the Malaysian the Association for Property Managers and Facilities Manager, perhaps also to just to let them know and let their members know that it's not that we purposely want to just go in and out of the property, but for specific good reasons, and maintaining certain standards of SOP, I think should not be an issue lah. Okay, I think that's a good point. I'll take note of that, and possibly that's probably one of the few things we're going to do immediately lah after the associations.
Proposing an SOP, right? I'm going to limit my time visit. I'm going to limit how many people going to the appointment. I'm going to set appointment and inform the management. And one day, there's only this limited amount of appointments is allowed. At least there is some sort of, rather than a blanket zero no and nobody can go in, right? Which to me doesn't make sense. I think that was the major problem. I don't know about other agents here, but I think there was a major problem I'm hearing from the ground level. And thank you for taking the initiative from MIEA to go and talk to the associations to help us at least educate the MC level people. And the property managers should be also educating the MC level.
The property managers we don't have an association for MCs, but there's definitely an association for property managers. Yeah, I will contact them. Yeah, MIEA has a close affiliation with them.
Right, cool. For the audience out there today, if you have any questions, please post in the chat box. Virtual support will be there to pick up. As we have on live on Facebook as well. If you have any questions, please post it on the chat so that we can bring the question to Cheng to answer these questions. Anyone have any? There's a question here. What's the leeway of rents expecting a renewal of rent tax due to COVID scenario in view of the risk of delisting? That's a very good question. What do you think, Cheng?
Okay, okay, very interesting question. Okay, last year when I was the EAPC chair at the board, I proposed to the board that we waive the requirements for the CDP for all rents for 2021. So initially they said no. But then after that, they agreed for all the principals to auto-renew all of the negotiators up to 31st December 2021. But they still put a subject, but when the time permits, that they must attend the CDP. But the way I look at it, I don't think that's going to be a very possible thing to happen. So very likely, if let's say the situation do not improve, the numbers keep going up and down and all sorts of things, very likely that the same thing that happened this year will happen next year as well.
Right. Right, because there's just no way to have 1,000, 2,000. I mean, the rent count is what, 30,000 nationwide, is that right? 30,000, is that the last?
Is 26,000 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, as that was the last round. Yeah, last count.
Rent. So it's just hard to gather everyone and do CDP again and again and again. So thank you for advocating that.
Yeah, and actually, I also advocated for online CDP. I said, why must it be physical? Why must everything be so traditional? We have to go to a seminar, sit down for half a day, enjoy some coffee or whatever. But the board works at a different level, so they may need a little bit more time to embrace online stuff lah. Yeah. So we are not just advocating for online CDP, but we're also advocating for online NCC so that it does not hinder the newcomers into the industry, because we know that many are wanting to come into the industry because they are looking for additional source of income, or they have perhaps lost their employment somewhere else, and this is something that they want to do. So both, we are actually trying our best lah. But like I said, the board works at a different level, and but eventually I think it will happen lah. It will.
Right, and you are saying that there is a potential waiver of that renewal this year, or it's still pending the board circular to come out?
Still pending the board circular to come out, because the board has not been able to have their board meeting. The board meeting was supposed to be scheduled on the 27th of May, but then because of the FMCO, so that has been postponed.
Right.
Although I feel that they could have carried on online, but they decided to postpone it.
Right. Okay. So for those who are listening, don't worry. MIEA and the representation of the board for us are advocating for all this to happen for the benefit of the rents in the country, and we all know we are going through tough times right now. So thank you for advocating, and we're always staying in connection with MIEA to be the representation of the voice of our industry. Moving forward from here, I think looking at, let's talk about post FMCO. Let's talk about after FMCO. Now, if that happens 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever the time frame is, how do you think the market would be for agents then? What would your opinion be? How do you see? Yeah.
I can only look at what it was last year. Yeah, I think we do not have so much data, so we only have data as of last year lah, when the first MCO hit us in March. MIEA did a survey among our members and also practitioners and firms and all that. And after we did that survey, then immediately after that, I think it was in June, we conducted another sample survey lah. We called up a couple of firms and all that, and we asked the feedback. And interestingly enough, a lot of our members that we contacted, they informed us that yes, they suffered in March and April, deeply suffered lah, because that time even worse than now. Nobody ever heard of MCO before. So, but they found that the business recovered in the month of end May, in June. That means that the sales volume of June and the sales volume in January of 2020, same already. That means before MCO and after, the lag was about 2 months. That means March and April was thorough. Then end of May, June, okay already, coming back to speed. And that is reflected actually in the NAPIC report. If you look at the NAPIC numbers, same thing. First quarter, okay. Second quarter, boom. It was like, whoa, there was a serious dip down. Then third quarter, fourth quarter was doing very well. Wow, it was amazing. But then came to first quarter 2021, then there was a reduction from the quarter 4 of 2020. So I expect that this quarter will be down, of course, because everybody is stuck. But similar, if I were to take last year an example, then I would foresee that a month or a month and a half after the lockdown has been lifted, things will come back to its state before lah.
Right. So
as much as we think people are suffering, they may not be,
Right. I think it's a different segment, and there are some segment in the economy will be doing well. For example, healthcare products, related products, they will be doing well, and some people would or digital services, right? They will be doing well. So there are some business that will be doing well, and I think there is going to be some pent up demand because of a suppress of inability to transact, right? So the pent up demand will follow after this. And the thing is, are the agents ready for that? right? I was just coaching an agent this morning, this afternoon, and I told her, you got to imagine your business right now that your shop is shut. But how can you have people line up in your shop ready to go on the first day of open? When the shop is open the first day, do you have a line of people waiting to come into the shop? Right? And I think agents should think like that. They should not work only when the market is open. They should start working in preparation of the market. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, definitely. But sometimes a lot of us have mental block lah. When
Right.
we see that we can't go out, we can't go out, our mind is also blocked by itself. We also put a roadblock on ourselves. So I think that shouldn't be the way lah. I think as innovative agents, and if at all, this would be the best time of ever to be in a lockdown. Imagine if this happened like 30 years ago, we were locked down 30 years ago. That time, handphone also, few people have, and things like that. Imagine how to do business then. So
Right.
if at all, we are in a privileged situation right now with the technology support that we have to be able to brace through this. If our generation cannot do it,
Right.
I don't know which generation.
There are a couple of questions here. I think one question talking about a tenant asking for reduction of rental. How do you settle this matter? And I think that's something that we need to go and bring the landlord and tenant to have a conversation. I think to bring them for a conversation and say, hey, this is my problem. Landlord, listen to me. What can we do and come to an agreement? Would you agree that's the right way to approach this
Yes,
situation?
definitely. But very important that both parties must be genuine. You see, sometimes these tenants, they want to take advantage. Oh,
Right.
MCO already. I'm not affected. But now, since everybody is asking for reduction, I also go and ask, that kind of thing. I think it shouldn't be a taking advantage situation. And in that case, in that sense, the landlord will know one, and they will sense it, and then there will be friction among the two already. It's not good. So we must be that bridge, the mid-between point. May not be immediately that we put tenant and landlord to sit down and talk together. Perhaps we should speak to both parties separately, and then we understand the what's in both their minds. Then we know how to make the match point easier lah.
I got a friend actually called me, I think the last MCO. He's running a restaurant in a fairly famous, popular building. And he said, how do I negotiate the landlord? And I suggested to him, hey, say, look, bring your sales report and bring your sales invoice, so your sales information, right? Or your records of what's the sales before MCO and now during MCO, and go to him with that data and say that you have reduction of 60, 70%, 80%, even though you're delivering food right now, but you are 80% down. Now, if you pressure me to pay rental, I have no cash flow to pay you anymore. What can we do right now? I think that's the way we should encourage our tenants to have those conversations. And of course, it depends whether the owner agreeable. But I think normally when they see that, it's a very natural thing to say, can I help?
Yeah,
How can I
genuine case. It must be a genuine case. Like I said, if the person is doing better and better, is still asking for.
Right.
But I tell you, Malaysians are like that. I mean, let's be fair, I mean, so we as the agent, we have to, understand both sides. We can also tell the tenant that you always think that the landlord have it good, but the landlord is also suffering. He may have his own jobs being affected, and the repayment that he's paying to the bank is more than your rental is covering. So I think we need to come to a strike point. If not, taking advantage of either side. Yeah, I think that's very important.
There's another question here. I have a deal for SPA to be ready to be signed. There is no reason to delay after MCO, right? Should be able to sign, right?
No, there should be no issue because the lawyers can work.
Right, and they can courier documents to them, sign in front of the camera, right? Courier back, sign in front of the camera, and I think that's still possible right now.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Next question. Oh, this is interesting from Harjinder. Can MIEA somehow discuss or request to convert real estate into essential business?
Yes, we have members who have requested that, and we have also written in. But until today, I believe the government already have a plan, like how to, which, they have a plan of action. That means, okay, for these 2 weeks, we let these guys operate. Then I'm sure very soon, in the next couple of days, we'll sure hear an announcement, these few sectors are allowed to operate already. Okay. Then after 1 or 2 weeks or 2 weeks later, they will release some more people into the workforce. They will slowly, progressively. So although we have put in our request for real estate to be considered as essential services, but the next question came to our mind is, yeah, we may be able to operate, but can our buyers and sellers come out and do
Right.
viewings? So that's the second challenge. So, and I think as such, we might need to follow the plan of the government, how they want to release the various sectors into the business. I mean, into the, to allow them to open up again. So that may, yeah, I understand the challenge. Real estate is not classified as essential services at the moment. And although MIEA has written in, but I believe the government will progressively release.
Right. There is a question from Eric Teo. May I know, in the rents 3% commission during a sales transaction, how and who can justify to make it mandatory fixed commission rate like those in the insurance sector? So I don't understand the question, Eric. Are you saying what authority is? I don't understand his question very clearly. Can you clarify, Eric? Are you saying that the 3%, who can justify that it is mandatorily fixed, or you want to fix it at 3% and not lesser? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand that question 100%. Eric, maybe you want to rephrase that question and ask again.
Oh, he says yes. So,
right.
Okay, I understand. So he's saying, why is the 3% fee not fixed? Why can we still charge 2% and things like that? Is it?
Right, I think so.
I think so lah.
So, okay.
Okay, you see, the issue is like that. Historically, 2% was the fee. That means for the last, when I started in 1999, even way before that, it was already 2%. Then at one point in time, it became 2.75%. But nobody could understand what is this 2.75%.
2.75. When I came in, 2.75 just introduced.
Then the market doesn't understand what is this 2.75. So they started going back to 2. Then after that, of course, the board members at the time, they fought for higher. So they managed to set it at 3%. But unfortunately, they did not fix any fee. Neither is it a fixed fee for valuation, neither is a fixed fee for any of this industry. It's basically what we call it, it's just the cap. That means you cannot charge more than that, but they didn't say you cannot charge less than that, which I feel actually is no good. You should have just fixed the rate. It's 3%, that's it.
Right.
If the agent somehow wants to give a discount or whatever, then nobody knows about it. The fixed rate is 3%. As long as the income comes in 3%, what you do with the money after that, nobody knows. That may be a better approach. But but having said that, I wouldn't say that no owner is paying us 3%. In fact, I have a couple of agents that always get full fees. They will get 3%. Even for rentals, they get about 1.25 months rent. I think it's how you negotiate and position yourself as the agent of choice to your seller and to your landlord. I'm very surprised, I got a couple of agents in commercial, right? Fantastic, this guy. Every time he does rentals, is 1.25, in all fairness, even for me when I was practicing in those days, I also cannot get 1.25. But this guy, he is good. Every his transaction, he gets 1.25. And wait, one more thing. And rent review. After that year, right, if the tenant renews, he gets another 50%. So in 2 years, he has collected 2 months of, 2 months of rent from the same landlord, same tenant, no movement there. So I believe somehow he managed to impress upon the landlords that he deserves that fee for the service he provided, and he delivers. So I think that got him his, and he even got it from big companies. You'd be surprised. You think that the big companies like those developers, right, they won't pay you full fee for a tenancy. They do. They do. So it's just how you do it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an opportunity, because most agents may not see that as something to push for, because I'm just happy with 2%, or I don't know how to get the 3. I just don't care. I just go with what the masses is. But I think the opportunity for us to show up and add value to the clients is there. Right.
Probably do is for that matter, right? That 3% thing. Sometimes, if you go to the board website, lppah.gov.my, there is a section on fees. Sometimes what I do is I share that link with my sellers and say that the fee is actually 3%. Okay, if they don't read very carefully, they'll see the fee is 3%. But if they look carefully, they read fine lines and all that, then they know that it's not fixed there. But if they just look at it, it's 3%. It's been 3% for many years. Most of them will be willing to accept. after all, I always tell the sellers, after all, what is this 2-3%, or what's this 1% when we manage to sell off the property and find you a buyer within a specific period of time? Peace of mind and also savings for you in terms of your repayments. So
in crisis right now, people need to sell.
Yes.
Right, better opportunity. Awesome. There's another question here that's not relevant to the topic we're talking about, but I think it's an interesting topic. Is it possible to have an MLS system in Malaysia?
Okay, MIEA actually has introduced MIEA MLS. It's very new. We started it sometime last year. And I think so far we only have a couple of thousand listings in there of agents wanting to co-agent. But the good thing about this MLS is that upfront, you know whether the agent wants to co-agent. Okay, sometimes when you call people from the other property portals, you're not sure whether they want to work with you or not, right? So in MIEA MLS, definitely all want to work one. That's why they put their listings there. The second thing is the fee is disclosed upfront. You don't have to ask, so for this property, what's the fee sharing? It's already written there already. So if it's 2% or if it's 3% or if it's 1% or whatever it is, it's all written there. So it's more transparent. Actually, it's good that you mentioned that because MIEA is also working with Redfield to also work together on this MIEA MLS to, I think, it's in the works.
Yes, I think just to let everyone know in transparency, we are having conversations because we have about close to 13,000 listings in our system here, and the potential of us APIing that particular data into the MIEA MLS so that other agents can see your listings at the same time can work with you and get you guys having more co-agency opportunities, right? So they are working on that right now to have that conversation size for open listings as well, not only exclusive but open listings as well, right?
All listings might be because Malaysia, we haven't come to this maturity level where all listings are exclusive listing like in the US or for the matter in Australia and all that.
Because they got regulation there regulating how a listing should be, right? The standard of a listing. Here we don't have regulation regulating listings, so that's why it's hard to impose certain regulation on listings, right? Well, Cheng is coming to the time of that hour of the time, and really thank you so much. How many of you are learning something from Cheng today? How many of you know that they are actually she's actually helping and pouring value to all of us today? How many of you, if you know and you have gotten some value, please express your gratitude to her on the chat box. Please express your gratitude on the chat.
Thank you very much. I hope I managed to share something useful for all of you.
Hang on for a while, Cheng. I'm going to have some announcements, then I'll come back to you for some last thoughts, okay? Just give me 2 minutes for announcements, then I'll come back to you for some last thoughts. Okay, can I have announcements, please, Marcus? Right, so just to update everyone, if you're a guest or you're an agent here, next week we're going to start our trainings again. We are not stopping until the FMCO comes down. You will see almost daily there's trainings coming forward from KW Malaysia regional team and also the market center level. I would point your direction to look at training on Tuesdays, which is the shift tactic 2, where you're going to remargin your business. So think about signing up and going into that training from 9 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. is at night. But I think Roslan Shapri, which is one of our training faculty from the regional side, will be teaching this class on tactic 2 on how to remargin your business, right? So I want you to take a look and come to that session if you all can. If not, come for all sessions, right? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so our National Consumer Campaign Touchpoint is ongoing. I want to point everyone's direction to one particular touchpoint, which is the listings touchpoint. I think it's an opportunity for you to go and engage your consumer directly, where we now have about close to 13,000 listings on our website. Again, so this is the right opportunity for you to reach out to your consumer and share with them that start their search with us first before they go somewhere else, so that all our listings have better exposure to your consumers, right? So I would encourage everyone to share this particular website with your clients, share them these touch points and the scripts, and also the website link to your clients so that they can start their search from our website first, so that you have the best opportunity to go in there and get the eyeballs on your listing. So I encourage everyone to do that right now. If you can, share that on your Facebook, share that on your social media, send out to 10 to 15 people per day in our touch points. So the 3 touch points are already ready inside our workplace for you to download, right? Next slide, please. Okay, we are still doing this Red Day campaign with Marco. We are collecting laptops and collecting funds to help underprivileged children in Malaysia, in Klang Valley especially, who have no means of having laptop to do their digital learning. So we have collected, next slide, we have collected I think up to 31 laptops and desktops already, collected about 10,000 ringgit. So please send the word out. This is a great opportunity to partner with your client so that you can help your client to do something to help others right now who's in need. And I can foresee that school will not be back to normal until next year. There's no sight of having physical school right now. It's just no sight, right? And the system, 5 million children are not equipped to go through online learning. So we can do our part by doing this. So thank you for those who have contributed, but we are still looking for used laptops and desktops so that we can send out to the children through Marco, which is the partner that we are in this CSR project. Next slide, please. Right, so that's all for tonight. But before we go, Cheng, what are your last thoughts for our agent here today? What last encouragement or last thoughts that you have for agents to run their business in this season of uncertainty and chaos?
I always remember what you shared last year. The one thing, just one thing that you do different every day is going to make that difference. Like for me, yesterday, it was my first time doing using Boosted app to come up with videos. I think if every day we do something like that, you are going to be so much better than you were before this whole lockdown took place. So, and then you're just going to get better. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Cheng. Thank you for serving the MIEA. Thank you for serving the industry. Thank you for serving all of us in your capacity. So we are really blessed to have you as our new incoming president for MIEA, and we are rooting for you. And thank you so much for your time. The rest of you, thank you guys for joining us. I hope all of us will have a good weekend ahead. Thank you so much, guys. See you at the next training. See you. Thank you, Cheng.
Bye.